Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome back for another card video. Today I'm using a stencil by Simon Says Stamp called Stars and Dots. It's not a full-size stencil, I'm just going to lay it across my A2 size card. I'm also using the Big Happy die. So I'm going to place this stencil in the middle of an A2 size piece of crumb cake cardstock by Stampin' Up. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to use my surgical tape to adhere it to my cardstock. That way I have full access and I don't have to put any tape on the front part. I'm using Wendy Vecchi embossing paste, just plain white. I also decided to cover up the other areas of my cardstock with some Post-it tape. Now I'm going to take my palette knife and put the paste on the bottom part of the palette knife, and I think that's the easiest way to apply it. And it just goes on kind of like cake icing, and personally I like to have not too thick of a layer, but I like it to be even. So I keep kind of going the full length of the stencil to make sure I don't have any textured surfaces. And that's just the way I personally like it. All right, once that's done, I'm gonna immediately take everything off. So I'm not gonna wait till it dries. I'm gonna remove the stencil and try to pull it upward as best I can. If you pull it off a little sideways, then you might smear some of your paste. All right, I'm gonna let that dry probably 15-20 minutes. And I'm going to color these paste areas. So I'm going to put my stencil back over my hardened paste so I don't color anything onto my cardstock. So I'm going to start with Y17 yellow color. I'm going to do 3 different colors. This is the first set of stars that are going to be yellow. So I'm moving to the middle portion of the stars with the Y15, and then I'll finish them off with the Y11. Now notice that some of the stars are only half colored, and that's so that I can blend the 2 colors together. So now for the greens, I'm just using 2 colors. I'll start with the dark one, and then for those half-colored stars, I'm going to finish off the coloring with the lighter of my 2 colors with the green here. And again, I've also colored some of those stars on the right halfway. I just went in with a Y11, my lightest yellow, just to make sure that the green and the yellow were blending. And then finally I have 2 colors for the blue stars. Again, I'm going to do the same thing, putting the dark in the lower left-hand portion of each of the stars. And then once I move to my BG13, the light, I'm going to finish off those half greens and then finish off the rest of the blues. I'm leaving all of my dots white. So when I take the stencil off, you'll see how pretty the color looks against the Kraft, and plus the white kind of makes everything pop a little bit. Now this is alcohol ink, so I'm just going to take an alcohol wipe and wipe my stencil, and it comes right off. I'm using the Altenew Label Love. I need the word birthday, so I'm just going to use the happy birthday stamp, and I inked up half of it, stamped it with VersaFine black onyx ink. And frankly, I wish I would have inked it up a little bit more to the left because I kind of cut off the B a little bit, but I'm just going to work with it. I just cut it out with a scissor. And now I'm going to layer up my happy. So I have white. I'm going to put some 2-way glue on the back, and I'm going to lay it on top of my black happy. And I'm going to lay it so that I'm kind of going northeast a little bit from the corner of the black. And I'm going to do 1 letter at a time. So notice that I'm holding down the letters as I move to the right, and that allows me to adjust it with the tweezers that I'm holding it with on the right-hand side. I trimmed my crumb cake panel to 3 3/4 inches high. I'm going to add a black border. So I'm going to put my tape runner on the back of my crumb cake piece, and I've cut about 1/2 inch of black cardstock. And I do this a lot when I just want a tiny little sliver of the black. And I just kind of eyeball it and lay it on top of the black where I want it. And then I do the same thing on the other side. And also that way I don't waste any black cardstock. And then I'll just trim off the ends because I made my black pieces a little long. And then I'll adhere this to my card base. Next, I'm going to put my sentiment on, and I'm using Tombow Mono Multi Glue on the birthday part because I know it won't seep out the sides, and it's going to be laying on top of this paste, so I wanted to make sure it was really secure, especially since it's a little small. So I'm going to place that on there, and then for the happy, I decided to go ahead and use my 2-way glue because the Tombow, if it seeps out, it's going to be a little tacky, and I didn't have any problems with this sticking to the embossing paste. And that is the card for today. So I think using black and white with the Kraft, it really makes a really bold look. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.